video or are you just on audio?
I thought I was on video, but let me see. Live, let's see. Can you not see me? Okay, it says,
I don't see you, but maybe it's just not showing up on my gallery view.
Yeah, she has something in front of her camera.
Okay.
Her camera is flipped.
Okay. Do you want to be on video, Ms. Hartman?
It's not showing.
How about Ms. Harrison?
I'm here.
She here, I see her.
Yeah.
Well, dang, I don't see her.
I do.
You just, I guess when you talk, the picture shows up.
Maybe that's what it is. Okay.
You see everybody, Mr. Frick, on the screen?
No, I don't see Ms. Hartman and I don't see Ms. Harrison, but I got everybody else, I believe.
I'm on here.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah, I mean, I see y'all.
Yeah.
Okay, we ready to
Okay.
get started?
Yes.
All right, call this meeting the April 21st, the first virtual meeting of the Fairfield County School Board to order. I believe we did have proper public notification of the meeting, and I would like to confirm, I believe we have everybody in attendance except Mr. Davis, who was not able to get off work to attend the meeting today. At this time, Chair will entertain a motion to enter executive session to discuss. I believe all we have is personnel matters.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair,
Ma'am,
I make a motion, we enter executive session for personnel matters.
I know that's you, Ms. Harrison, but could you announce yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Miss Sylvia Harrison.
Thank you. Ms. Harrison has made the motion. Is there a second?
I second.
I second.
All right, I believe that Mr.
Sorry.
Miller.
Jackson.
Mr. Miller? All right, I'm gonna do a roll call vote. I'm just gonna kind of go everybody I see on the screen here, so this is no particular order. Mr. Miller, say aye or nay.
Aye.
Mr. Siebels,
Aye.
Mr. Jackson,
Aye.
Ms. Harrison,
Hi.
Ms. Hartman. Ms. Hartman,
aye.
okay.
Yeah, aye.
All right, thank you, ma'am. And Frick votes aye. Is that all six of us, Ms. Brown? I want to make sure.
It is.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll enter executive session. I believe it's going to be fairly quick. As you know, you got the call-in number. Let's go to that now.
Mhm. Are people commenting?
Hey, there's Ms. Harper.
Hey, Reverend,
Hey, how you doing?
what's going on, young man?
Everything.
All right, I count 6 of us. Is there a motion to exit executive session?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion, we exit executive session.
Thank you. For the record, that's Ms. Harrison on the motion.
This is Reverend
Henry Miller.
Jackson, I second.
Got me that. You got me on that one.
Reverend Jackson makes the second. All right, roll call vote. I'm gonna call him as I see him on the board. Mr. Miller,
Aye.
All right. Mr. Jackson, Reverend Jackson, excuse me.
Aye.
Mr. Siebels,
Aye.
Ms. Hartman. Ms. Hartman. The motion to
Can you hear
exit
me now?
executive session?
Hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Here,
The-
yes.
Okay. And Ms. Harrison.
Yes.
All right, Frick votes aye 6-0 to exit exec. Excuse me, exit executive session. Well, welcome. Thank you all for participating in this. This is an interesting endeavor and one I hope we don't have to replicate much in the future. At this time, and we have dispensed with the Pledge of Allegiance since we're not in a location with a flag. So we're just doing it just because we're on this meeting. But we will have the moment of silence, and I'll turn it over to the secretary.
Let us all have a moment of silence. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Chair, entertain a motion to approve this evening's agenda.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Harrison.
Also, we approve the agenda, the April 21st, 2020 regular call board meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Henry Miller, second.
I second.
I'm gonna give Mr. Miller the tie on that one. Mr. Miller seconds the motion to approve the agenda. Any issues on the agenda this evening? Hearing none. Mr. Miller, on the agenda, aye or no?
Aye.
Reverend Jackson,
Aye.
Mr. Siebels,
Aye.
Ms. Hartman,
Hi.
Ms. Harrison.
Aye.
Rick votes aye, 6-0. All right. Special motions and actions. Dr. Green, you want to introduce this or you want me to introduce this?
You can introduce it, Counselor.
Okay, all right. What we've got before us right now, I'm not gonna, you've got the text that was given to us by our legal counsel that basically says, you know, the governor's declared a state of emergency, the president's declared a state of emergency. It lists many of the declarations that the governor has made. Essentially what it comes down to is says that this is an emergency situation. It allows us to suspend any policies that may be in effect that are not in compliance with the current emergency orders by the governor. It does devolve that authority to, I believe, me and Dr. Green, if necessary. And I want to emphasize if necessary, because the idea is we're an elected public body. These decisions should be made publicly. But if for some reason we're unable to get together to meet, then decisions that need to be made can still be made. At this time, and if there's some discussion on it, that's fine. But at this time, let's get a motion on the floor so we can discuss it.
Okay. Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion, the board entertain a motion to approve the emergency resolution in response to 2019 novel coronavirus.
Thank you.
The suspension
Yes, ma'am. That'll
of
work.
the board policy, BEDH.
Hold
Public.
on. That's the next one up. That's the
Okay.
next one up.
Okay, I'm ahead of you.
Yes, all right. We'll get there. Okay, so right now is a motion to approve the or at least discuss the emergency resolution by Ms. Harrison. Is there a second?
Henry Miller, second.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, we'll vote on the resolution. Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Reverend Jackson,
Aye.
Mr. Steebles,
Aye.
Ms. Hartman,
Hi.
Ms. Harrison,
Aye.
Rick votes aye, 6-0. Thank you. Next, we do have the suspension of board policy BEDH. That was given us to us by the School Board Association as a recommendation. We do this. We are in fact doing it right now, quite frankly, because we don't have public comment. What this does is, obviously, you're not supposed to have public at meetings or gatherings. This is simply a suspension of the public comment at this time. We will certainly put that back in place once all this is behind us. This time, Chair will entertain a motion in regard to that policy.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion, we approve the temporary suspension of board policy BEDH, public participation at meetings until the COVID-19 threat has ended.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Harrison. Is there a second?
Henry Miller, second.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Second. All right. Any discussion on this policy, temporary, and we emphasize temporary policy suspension? Hearing none, move to a vote. Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Reverend Jackson,
Aye.
Mr. Siebels,
Aye.
Ms. Hartman,
Aye.
Ms. Harrison.
Aye.
Rick votes aye, 6-0. Thank you very much. This time we'll move to board minutes. Chair will entertain a motion regarding the March 17th, 2020 board minutes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
the motion we approve the minutes from the March 17 regular call board meeting.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Harrison. Is there a second?
Henry Miller, second.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any discussion on the board minutes?
There was skips in the video. Does
Yes,
anybody
ma'am.
know why?
Yes, ma'am. We checked with IT on that. It was an inexplicable failure on that part. Nobody really knows what happens. Of course, you know, it's new technology. So it was a glitch, unfortunately, that occurred, but we're trying to make sure it doesn't happen in the future.
All right,
Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
go ahead.
No, I was just asking if anybody else had questions. Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Reverend Jackson,
Aye.
Mr. Siebels,
Aye.
Ms. Hartman,
Abstain.
thank you. Ms. Harrison,
Aye.
Rick votes aye. That's 5 in favor, 1 abstention. Superintendent's report.
Mr. Frick, members of the board, I'll be brief. First of all, I'd like to thank all the faculty and staff in the Fairfield family for doing an outstanding job during this most uncertain time. Obviously, no one would have ever anticipated that we'd be where we are. I don't think most people have seen such a phenomenon during their entire careers. I can say I've not seen that during my career. So this is truly uncharted waters. First of all, let me give a shout out to food service and our transportation department, who have been doing an outstanding job of delivering meals since this crisis first ensued. They have been on the front lines of ensuring that our young people are fed on a daily basis. And I can't thank them enough for that. And in addition to food service and transportation, I can tell you the custodial staff, for example, at Fairfield Central High School, when I went by the Friday before spring break, were in there working just as hard to help them assemble bags and get the meals out. So it has truly been an example of excellence through teamwork, and I'd like to thank everyone for being a part of making this happen. Also, let me give our instructional staff a shout out for doing a wonderful job maintaining our virtual instruction over the last several weeks. Obviously, we didn't anticipate that we'd have these kinds of issues, but they have monitored and adjusted. And if you spend any time on social media, you've seen all the innovative things that have occurred from fine arts to math and ELA. They're doing a wonderful job of really maintaining the instructional program as best we can. I mean, obviously, we would love to have students with us every day, but given the current reality, we are adjusting as best we can. Let me say there have been lots of questions about whether we're going to return to school this year. The Superintendent Spearman had an interview on yesterday. She says that her and the governor anticipate having a decision that's announced by the end of this week. I quite honestly anticipate that that decision will be that we won't return this year, but we'll wait and see what that is. And so regardless of what it is, we'll be prepared to do what we need to do to support our young scholars. I agree with them, Superintendent Spearman, that obviously the safety of our young people need to be first and foremost as we consider what that decision is.
Right.
The other question I've gotten about quite often is graduation. What about our seniors who have worked diligently for some of them over the last 13 or 14 years, depending on whether they started in 3K, and how will we honor their graduation? We are currently looking at multiple different options. Me and Ms. Harrison had some dialogue earlier, a couple of weeks ago, about what are some options. I'll tell you that Ms. Swilly is in conversation with the senior class right now to get their thoughts on their preferences. We're looking at a few different things. One of them is to delay graduation to potentially sometime maybe in July, hoping that this crisis has already passed us by then. There are some options that some people are implementing to have kind of a virtual graduation. There are some people who are looking at some options where you can have a restricted crowd down to some essential staff and maybe only one or two invited guests. And so there are multiple things that are being considered. We've not finalized that as of yet. I'll tell you that our decision to a large part is going to be contingent on the wishes of the graduates who have really earned this honor. So we will find a way to recognize and celebrate their accomplishments. Right now, I can't tell you exactly what it will be. We're exploring multiple different options. And finally, let me say this. Ms. Hartman asked a question earlier about some of the snafus we had with technology during the March meeting. There were obviously some technical difficulties where some of the recordings were inaudible. There were some skips in the video. And we understand how technology works. Sometimes that happens. It's not the first time it's happened, and quite honestly, it probably won't be the last because that's technology. It's funny. I was just speaking to someone on the phone just earlier today, and they said they were going to call me at 4:30. I was sitting looking at my phone and never got a call, and then all of a sudden the voicemail popped up, and I'm saying I was looking at my phone the entire time and didn't see it ring. But that's just an example of technology. Sometimes these things just happen, and we don't necessarily have an explanation. But I want to come to the defense of my technology staff. I want to come to the defense of the administration and even the integrity of the board, because anyone who suggests, which was suggested in an article in a local publication this past week, that there's something nefarious going on, that there's a need for us to somehow cut out parts of the video, is simply insulting, quite honestly. The board doesn't have anything to do with the videos that are recorded or posted, nor does the administration. The technology staff does that. And so for anyone to suggest that would be questioning not only the integrity of the school board, the administration, but the fine technology staff who put in work each and every day. And finally, just let me say that this is a service that we provide so we can keep our community engaged. I mean, this is not something that school districts do across the state, which is to record and post meetings. We are very fortunate to be in a position to do that because it gives our constituents an opportunity to maybe go back and review meetings. But anyone who suggests that we need to cut out anything on videos is simply misguided. And I reject that characterization of the people in the Fairfield family. And so I felt compelled to address that. That really bothered me, to say the least. And other than that, that's all I have, Chairman, members of the board.
All right. Anybody got any questions of the superintendent right now? I know
No,
we-
I just, Mr. Chair, this is Ms.
Yes, ma'am.
Harrison. Thank you, Dr. Green. I did read the article that was written in the paper, and it was very offensive to me and disheartening, because our staff worked really hard. And with everything that's going on, this is new to everybody. You know, technology, it works sometimes and sometimes it don't. I have a daughter that's computer science major, and she can tell you, you know, I get frustrated, but thank you for just saying that, you know, things happen and coming to their defense and our defense. Thank you.
Absolutely.
In addition, Mr. Chair, I'd like to add that I want to commend everybody for all of the things that are being done now, because all of us are saying that these are uncharted waters. Some of us have been here before, and we will get through this. A round of applause or a rousing thank you. All of the school personnel, because they're all doing a remarkable job under the circumstances. I kind of hope, this is just me talking now. I kind of hope that we don't go back this year, because it's so iffy with what's out there, and we don't want our children at risk for bringing thing at this home to the family. So I'm kind of hoping that they're going to say that this is
It's a slight delay.
He froze up there.
Yeah.
Did we lose him?
I
Yes,
think we lost somebody, and it might have been me.
Yeah,
There
we
you
you're
go.
back.
we lost
you,
you
though.
for a second, Pastor James, but you're back.
Oh, okay.
All
All
right.
right. Well, I hope y'all heard what I said. I don't need to add any more to it.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Frick, Henry Miller.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr.
Well said, Ms. Harrison, well said, Reverend Jackson, and well said, Dr. Green. We do appreciate our staff, everybody. You know, we're a family, you know, and we're working together, and it is uncharted waters. And so I'm not going to be long, but I just want to reiterate that what y'all have said is so true. So thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. If there's nothing further on that, we don't have any curricular instruction as I see. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. On to operations and finance.
Mr. Robinson?
Good evening.
Good evening.
The first item you have this evening is the finance report for the month of March for a board review.
Anybody have any questions on the finance report for March? Hearing none, if we'll go on to item number 2.
And the second item is a budget update. As you're all aware, the pandemic has caused a major disruption to the economy, and as a result,
Reason.
I guess he froze too.
same level that we are this year. That's due to the inability to really project what the revenues will be. As a part of that, the teacher salaries have been, well, the teacher step has been frozen until they can actually come back in the fall, meet, and decide what the budget will be. So what some districts are doing is they're adopting a continuing resolution. And basically that means that we would be funded for our budget will remain the same as it is this year until the time that the state adopts a budget. And once they adopt a budget, then amend our budget. So the document that you have, basically, that's what we're saying, is that we're going to look in the month of May of bringing a continuing resolution to the board to have our budget remain the same. And then we will make changes as we receive updates from the legislature in the fall. Any questions?
I have one question. If
Yes,
we
sir,
are,
Reverend Jackson.
okay, if we're going to start with the same budget that we had this year for next year, and then it said until such time as adjustments are made later, will there be retroactive adjustments made to salaries?
Yes, sir, Pastor Jackson. So in the event that the General Assembly approves a step increase or a salary increase for staff, it will be retroactive.
Okay, thank you.
And just to clarify, Mr. Robinson, because it cut out on you again, they're going to accuse you again of doctoring the tape, I'm afraid. But what happened was we're just looking to keep the budget as is until we have more information.
That is correct.
Okay. It just absolutely no changes. The step increases would not go into effect. In fact, I know there was the bill in the legislature that didn't quite get passed was going to freeze those anyway, correct?
Yes, sir, I think so.
That was my understanding. Okay. All right. Anybody else have any more questions for Mr. Robinson?
Yes, this is Paula Hartman.
Yes, Ms. Hartman.
Last meeting, it was brought to our attention about approximately $2.5 million was going to be short in the budget because of the nuclear plant. How is that going to affect the budget for this year if we adopt the same budget?
How will it affect our budget for next year? Is that
Yes, sir.
the question? Well, Ms.
Yes, sir.
Hartman, we really don't know how that will impact us for next year. We won't know what the property taxes look like.
You went out.
Hopefully by the
Had to-
time
You had to
adopted.
backtrack. We couldn't hear what you just said that last sentence or two.
Okay, I'm saying that we won't know anything until the fall regarding the property taxes for Dominion and other properties in the county. So typically, we would do a projection on what we believe the tax base will be. So we're no worse off by adopting the same budget. In essence, we're continuing with the same information we have, and we will update that once we get better information in the fall.
But you were saying that it would be short, right? Because of
Correct,
that
for this year. But that just means that next year, we know we will have to make some changes, but we don't know what we're going to have in terms of state revenues. We don't know what the teacher salaries will look like. So to adopt a change now would be premature, and most likely we would have to make even more changes. So we're waiting until we have a more complete picture.
Yeah, I understand what you're doing. I just wondered if you had looked at that as far as the consideration with that. That's all I'm saying.
And so if I may add, Chairman Frick, members of the board.
Yes, sir.
I mean, obviously, Mr. Robinson does a very thorough job and has been looking at the numbers and making some anticipations about the revenues that we'll be receiving from multiple sources, to include our biggest taxpayer, which is the nuclear facility, and has projected that it will be less than it has been last year and less than we had budgeted and projected. But we'll let that play out. I mean, that is his projection. We'll see what happens. But as he said, by the end of the year, we'll see exactly how our revenues and expenses line up. But also we'll get more information as it relates to any state revenues that we should receive as well. So I think it is a prudent decision at this point to just go with a continuing resolution until we can see exactly what the revenues will look like by next year, to even include the nuclear facility. Right now, Mr. Robinson is making some projections, but we'll know for sure by the time this fiscal year is over.
And one more question, how would that affect, as far as, normally we have to have, are we presenting this to the county council because they have to have theirs at a certain time, or not, or are they putting theirs off also?
Yeah, so Ms. Hartman, we have to present, and Kevin, you correct me if I'm stating this wrong, but the current millage rate to the county council by a certain point. If there's no millage increase, which we are not proposing a millage increase, there would be no delay in what we present to the county council for their approval. So unless we are recommending, I think, a millage increase over 3%, or don't know the numbers off the top of my head, then the county council doesn't necessarily have anything they need to approve.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further on the budget? And of course, that's going to be, it's not an action item before us today. That will be on the agenda for next month. Anything further on that? And quite frankly, it looks like that's what everybody's going to, because there's so much uncertainty. You have no idea how to budget. In fact, so uncertain right now, the state doesn't even have a continuing resolution. So it's just a whole lot of mess going on right now.
Mhm.
All right, if there's nothing further on that, we'll move to human resources.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For your approval this evening, in item 1, certified resignations and terminations, the superintendent recommends the board approve certified staff resignations and terminations in Exhibit 1A, 1B, and 1C, and they are outlined accordingly.
And these are 3 very different things, so we cannot take them as one item tonight. So at this time, Chair will entertain a motion in regard to Exhibit 1A.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Ms. Harrison. I make a motion, we accept the superintendent recommendation to approve certified staff resignation and terminations in Exhibit 1A, 1B, and 1C.
Well, we can only do 1A right now, Ms. Harrison.
Okay, 1A.
Let's take them one at a time.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Harris has made their motion on Exhibit 1A. Is there a second? I hadn't heard one yet. Somebody want?
Second, Henry Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Miller, on the second. Of course, this is personnel, so there's no discussion. Well, hold on. I can't do it that way. Mr. Miller,
Yes, sir.
aye or nay? On 1A. All right, y'all moved around on me, so Ms. Harrison's up next.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Siebels,
Aye.
Ms. Hartman,
Aye.
Pastor Jackson, Frick votes aye. Did I miss anybody? Somebody jumped off my screen. Okay, that's how I was keeping up with everybody, and then they moved. All right, now Chair, entertain a motion in regard to Exhibit 1B, certified non-renewal.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I make a recommendation, we accept the superintendent's to approve certified staff resignation termination in Exhibit 1B.
Henry Miller, second that.
Well, there's also there's a special motion that goes along with that one. Would you like to amend your motion to include that we conditionally accept the superintendent's recommendation that the contract of one annual contract employee teacher aide not be renewed for the 2021 school year, subject to the employee's appeal rights in section 59-2640 of the South Carolina Code of Laws?
So amend the 1B?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to amend my formal recommendation to accept the superintendent's recommendation, professional certified staff non-renewal in Exhibit 1B.
I like to second that. Henry Miller, like to second that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. It's been motioned and seconded. Again, it is personnel, so no discussion. Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Harrison,
Aye.
Mr. Siebels,
Aye.
Ms. Hartman,
Aye.
Reverend Jackson. Brick votes aye. Next is 1C. Again, we have a special motion
Okay.
that would be asking for a complaint to be sent on behalf of the board of the state board to the State Board of Education, requesting that appropriate action be taken against a professional employee of the Fairfield County School District, employee 1, whom pursuant to SC Code annotated section 59-25-230 breached their individual employment contract with the district by failing to return to work. Is there a motion to do so?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion, we accept the superintendent recommendation for professional certified staff breach of contract in Exhibit 1C.
Thank you, ma'am.
Henry
Ms.
Miller, second, sir.
Mr. Miller seconds it. All right, again, it's personnel, no discussion. Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Harrison,
Aye.
Mr. Siebels,
Aye.
Ms. Hartman,
Aye.
Reverend Jackson. Rick votes aye, 6-0. All right,
HR item number 2 for certified recommendations. The superintendent recommends the board approve professional certified educators for academic year 2020, 2021. These recommendations are presented to you in Exhibit 2A for current staff and 2B for recommended new hires.
all right. This one's simple. We can do both of them at the same time. Chair will entertain a motion in regard to Exhibit 2A and 2.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a recommendation, we accept the superintendent recommendation to approve certified staff members for academic year 2020-21. Exhibit 2A, professional certified education current staff, and Exhibit 2B, professional certified educators new hires.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
Henry Miller, like to second that.
Thank you. It's been motioned by Ms. Harrison. It's been seconded. Now, we'll just vote it up and down, no discussion. Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Harrison,
Aye.
Mr. Siebels,
Aye.
Ms. Hartman,
Aye.
Reverend Jackson. Rick votes aye. I believe that's 6-0.
Thank you.
I don't have anything to report except to echo what y'all have all said about our tremendous faculty and staff and parents who are just all working to get through this tremendous job. And I want to thank all of y'all, everybody on this, for participating in our first ever virtual, and hopefully Brown and our IT staff for all together. Even though I don't know why they setting Kevin up like they did to get him cut out. Now I'm picking. Yeah. Thank you all very much. If there's nothing further, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I recommend we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Henry Miller, second, Mr. Chair.
All right, we're gonna go down to roll call. Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Harrison,
Aye.
Mr. Siebels.
Aye.
I thought you wanted to stay in the, Ms. Hartman.
Aye.
Yes. Reverend Jackson. Rick votes aye. Meeting is adjourned. Hopefully see y'all in person in May.
All right. Have a good night.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Everybody be safe.
You too,
Good
Ms.
night.
Hartman.
Good night.
Good night.